It's All Things Considered, and I'm Dave Lawrence. Today we're wrapping up a special week of guests, our heavy metal holiday week we've been calling it, celebrating some new releases by a trio of singers associated with hard rock heavy metal bands. Recapping, Wednesday it was Jeff Tate, known for his decades with Queensryche, then yesterday Graham Bonnet of Rainbow, Michael Schenker, Alcatraz fame, and today we're bringing it to a crescendo with Glenn Hughes, Deep Purple Black Sabbath veteran, known for Black Country Communion, California Breed, many solo projects and collaborations, and his early 70s first group Trapeze. The gifted bassist, vocalist, and songwriter has returned with an impressive new solo album, Resonate, including the infectious first single, Long Time Gone. We welcome Rock and Roll Hall of Famer Glenn Hughes to the show now. Glenn, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
The pleasure's mine, Dave. Anytime.
Explain how and when you came up with this.
What it is, Dave, is I went to have double knee replacement last Christmas in January, and whilst recovering, around about when I went to do the Hall of Fame, I was still kind of struggling. I had this time at home to recover with therapists, and I knew I was going to be writing, but I did not know I was going to be writing an album, something that was completely, if you say, in the rock genre, with a lot of swagger, a lot of movement, heavy content lyrically as well as heavy content musically. Again, spiritual, if you don't mind, but I let the real Glenn stand up, if you will. I let myself be free.
You said something, I was listening to some recent interviews that you've done, and in one of them, you talk about music as a healer, and I know you lost your father this year.
Yeah, I lost my dad on the same day as the Hall of Fame. Look, Dave, I feel for anybody that's out there that's lost family or pets or anything. The album for me, Dave, is a very autobiographical record. I only write about the human condition and soldiering on, the healing process, if you will, the grieving process when you've lost something or someone. Also, have to learn how to walk again. Not knowing when I had these operations, I would be left as a 14-month-old child trying to learn how to walk. I had to have therapists to show me how to walk again. I had to learn how to sit. But I also got to write this album in this state of mind.
When I think about the debut single, I guess you would call it Long Time Gone, Red Hot Chili Pepper drummer Chad Smith is on it. It's got the organ, the wah-wah, your distinctive voice. Lyrically, can you give any insight into that one?
That song is about coming home. I felt like I was washed out to sea, and I talk about footsteps in the sand, and obviously the second set of footsteps is not mine. It's the great creator, and it's heavy, and it's about healing and growing, and the end of the album is about finding oneself. It really is a sense of a journey.
What you've got is something that sounds very fresh and contemporary, yet the organ sounds, the production aesthetic, if for someone who loves classic rock and early 70s hard rock, this is going to be such a pleasing experience.
The song Heavy itself, the verse, it's very vintage rock music. Jagon bow, bagon bow, bagon. Simple is always the key in rock music, and always the key in any kind of music that makes it onto the airwaves. I wasn't looking to write a radio album, but this is the most radio record I've ever made because I wanted to keep it simple. So heavy. I wanted people to understand you can be from China, you can be from Egypt, you can be from Turkey, or I don't care where you're from, you'll know how to sing this song.
Right.
So it's kind of global. I think this record will tick the boxes of a lot of older fans and a lot of new fans.
On that note, I was blessed to have Graham Bonnet on. Graham, I'm paraphrasing, but he said despite his wide range of musical styles that he loves and embraces, he feels a need to reflect his fans' tastes, essentially, in the style on the new album, because people kind of expect a certain thing, so you want to try to deliver what they expect.
Oh, my God, it's really crazy when you say that, because I'm going to tell you the truth. When I make music, let's talk about the corporate people. Unless you're actually singing it with me or writing it with me, don't talk about it, especially in rock music, because rock music is not hip-hop. Hip-hop, sells a lot of records. So I'm very R&B influenced. I'm very much into soul music. But I wanted this album to be, if you will, a tip of the hat to my fans who maybe waited for this album. And Dave, I have to be ready to make this album.
Your career, dialing back, it's been a remarkable one. And I've heard you talk about your mom and dad sort of setting the stage for this life of music just in the very inspiration of your name.
Most certainly. I was the only child of Bill and Sheila Hughes, named after Glenn Miller. I grew up listening to, you're going to love this story, Frank Sinatra was played in my home 7 days a week until I left my home when I was 21. It just so happens that I became friends with Frank Sinatra in 1981, and it just so happens that I got to introduce my parents to Frank, and Frank gave my father some of his clothing, and it was like, you just never know where it's going to take you. I'm not an artist that's going to comfortably say to you, hey, Dave, I've done it. I've created it. I've done it. I've arrived. No. I'm still working at it. I'm still working, chopping away, going to be chopping away till the very end. I never want to be that comfortable. I just want to be able to mix myself around people and watch people and learn. That's the kind of person I am, you know. I want to be a student.
It's the kind of answer that'll inspire so many people. My mom, by the way, that was one of her first concerts was Frank. She worked in radio, too, and she even got to go with comp tickets. So it was a great full circle thing in getting to talk to you. Tell the story of how you got to know Frank.
The truth be told, that my best man at my first wedding was Frank Sinatra's valet. And right-hand man. Over the course of 4 or 5 years, Frank Sinatra lived in Beverly Hills, where I used to live, and I had opportunities to go over and to meet him, and my parents came into town. And you just don't dream this shit up when you're young, and you run into people and you meet people when you're ready.
And another cat that is mentioned sometimes in your life who said that you were, I'm paraphrasing, but I think that Stevie Wonder called you his favorite white singer. How did that come about?
Well, I was taking a pee in the record plant in 1974. We were making a record with Deep Purple, and I was in the restroom, and in walks Stevie with his, cousin, taking him in, and I'm going, oh, my God, because he's like my idol,
Right.
Everybody has their idol. So I wait outside, and he walks out, and this was the only chance I'm ever going to get to meet him. So I was very courteous, and he was so responsive to me, as he is with everybody. I know Stevie a long time now. I asked him if he'd give me just a minute. I took him in the studio, and I played him a track I'd just done with Deep Purple, which completely was a Stevie Wonder reference. And he was so sweet, so kind. And then he invited me into his session. And it's not the way Stevie sang to me that night. Not the way he felt my skin. It's the way he conducts his life with his family, his fans. I've learned so much from that guy and what he's shown for me. Again, I've learned from being able to shut my mouth and watch and listen, and to see people stumble and get up and run again.
Another guy you've got an unusual connection to is John Bonham, Bonzo, late drummer of Led Zeppelin, whose son Jason you work with in your Black Country Communion project.
Bonzo was my, he was the guy that found trapeze. He was the guy that was behind a lot of trapeze's early success. John became my closest friend in 1971. So I knew Jason since he was a few years old, Jason, I had Jason on my knee, bouncing him up and down. So I've known Jason since, he was a toddler. I've known him all his life. We have a very big family connection. We're going in the studio in a couple of months to make the next album.
Final question for you, Glenn. You got to spend some very special time. A guy who also loved soul and funk. It was the mid-'70s. You ended up sharing a house with David Bowie.
Mm-hmm. He moved in at my house the spring and the summer of 75. He was making Station to Station, and he was preparing for a movie role called Man Who Fell to Earth. David and I befriended each other in 74, the same week as I met Stevie Wonder. David was playing a week at Universal Amphitheater. He was my neighbor at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel, and we ran into each other, and the funny thing was he'd seen California Jam, and he couldn't believe this white soul singer was playing in a rock band. So we had a lot of things in common, but we were pretty much inseparable for a couple of years. He was at my house all the time, and I got to watch the way he wrote and the way he continually changed. He cut all my hair off and threw away half of my clothes. And it was a big influence on my preparation for whatever was coming next. He was preparing me for it.
Amazing. Well, and I'm sure he's watching over you from where all of us are going next.
I certainly hope so.
Resonate is the new record. I'm a huge fan, Glenn, have been for decades. And
thank you, brother.
You're welcome. I appreciate it, Glenn. Stay safe.
Thank you so much. I had a great time. Aloha. This is Glenn Hughes, right where you want to be, with my friend, Dave Lawrence.
You're living alone. You've been a long time gone. You've faced the unknown. You've been a long time gone. gotta give what you take. Down by the shoreline divine, come to your senses for your own mercy's sake. You gotta seek and define. You're the lighter and your taste is sublime. Footprints left in the sand.